Welcome everybody to another episode of Let's Make Dinner, your audio library of amazing dinner recipes you can always get on the table. I'm your host, Susie Weinrich. All right, we're going to start this one with a little disclaimer. I'm probably going to struggle to say this word 400 times through this episode, so I almost feel like I should find another name for these. We're making Gochujang Meatballs today on Let's Make Dinner. I'm going to have to pause before I say it every time. We're going to practice. Gochujang, gochujang, gochujang. And you know what? I'm awful. I may even be saying it wrong. I just know that I love this sauce so much. It's like a tangy, chili pepper, slightly sweet and sticky sauce. It is so delicious. You've probably seen things with gochujang sauce. Oh, I said it really good right there. Gochujang. Gochujang sauce at like restaurants, and maybe you've seen some of the chili paste, the gochujang chili paste in the stores. For this recipe, we're actually going to use a gochujang barbecue sauce, and you can find it at a few different stores, but the one that we really love and that we know you can find is they have a Good and Gather gochujang barbecue sauce at Target. So I don't know, actually, is it Good and Gather or is it Market Pantry? You know, they kind of swapped those two names, so I'm not sure which one it is, but you can find it at Target, and it is super duper delicious. So in this recipe, we're actually going to make a pork/beef meatball, kind of Asian flavored meatball, and then we're going to finish it with this gochujang sauce. You can actually serve this with like a little fried rice on the side. You could do just like a white rice or brown rice, some roasted broccoli, or I have a wonderful recipe for an Asian style slaw that has crispy ramen noodles in it. Woo, so good. Just a couple recipe tips and tricks before we get into making the full recipe. Number one, you need ground pork for this recipe. Make sure that you're buying ground pork and not ground sausage. Ground pork will just be, it will look like kind of ground beef, but it'll be kind of pink and kind of like a light pink, and that's what you need. It will also be super inexpensive. You also need ground beef. We're making a combo of beef and pork. Always for meatballs, I recommend using a little bit leaner beef so that your meatballs don't turn really greasy. So like an 85% lean or a 90% lean is perfect here. Another ingredient you need is fresh ginger. And I've talked about this before. There's a product in your freezer section of your grocery store that's frozen, minced, or grated ginger, which is so much easier to use than buying, a ginger knob and then peeling it and grating it and mincing it. They're literally just cubes of frozen ginger. Each cube, I believe, is 1 teaspoon, and this recipe calls for 3 teaspoons of fresh ginger, so you just need 3 of those little cubes. Pop them out, and they're ready to use. Super duper easy. All right, but the main thing that we talked about in the beginning of this episode, we're going to talk about it again. When you go to the store, there's going to be probably a few different options for a gochujang sauce. You want to make sure that you're buying a gochujang sauce and not the concentrated paste. The concentrated paste is just the gochujang chili paste. Then you would need to make that into a sauce, which is not included in this recipe. It has an already made sauce on it. And like I said before, I love the one that they have at Target. It's either Market Pantry or Good and Gather. It's a gochujang barbecue sauce. And right in the post, you'll actually see a picture of it. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can click through to the post. There'll be a link in the show notes for you, and you can check it out. Okay, otherwise everything is pretty much straightforward for this recipe. So let's go ahead and make your gochujang meatballs. And I want to give myself a little pat on the back. I am saying gochujang very, very well. All right, so you're going to start by preheating your oven to 400 degrees. Then you're going to line a large rimmed baking sheet with foil and spray it really generously with nonstick spray. Set that aside. Now we're going to make the actual meatball mixture. So in a really large bowl, we're going to start by making that panade. If you've been here a while, you know anytime we make a ground meat recipe, we're going to add a panade to keep it really juicy and tender. So you're going to add 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of water, a 1/4 cup of very thinly sliced green onions, 2 large garlic cloves that have been minced, 3 teaspoons of minced fresh ginger, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and 2/3 cup of plain breadcrumbs. Now give that a really good whisk so that the egg is all broken down and that the breadcrumbs are all mixed into that liquid. Once that is all combined and the breadcrumbs are starting to absorb some of that liquid, you're going to add in 3/4 pound of ground pork and 3/4 pound of ground beef. Then either with clean hands or with a fork, you're just going to lightly mix that together until everything is combined. Then you're going to form about golf ball sized meatballs. And for this, I do like to use kind of a medium sized cookie scoop so that they all come out the same size and that they all cook evenly. And you'll have probably about 20 meatballs here. So place the meatballs on your prepared baking sheet, and then I like to give the tops of the meatballs a really generous spray with that nonstick cooking spray, and that just helps the meatballs brown evenly from top to bottom. So you're going to bake your meatballs for about 20 minutes, and I do like to flip the meatballs about halfway through the cooking time so you get that nice browning on both sides. While those meatballs are cooking, I recommend taking a large skillet, popping it over low heat, and pouring that gochujang sauce into the skillet and just let it warm through. Then when the meatballs are done baking, you can transfer them to that gochujang sauce, give them a really good stir so they coat and they get all sticky and saucy, and just let them simmer and warm together for about 5 minutes. That's it. That's your full recipe. Your gochujang meatballs are ready. Now, as I said before, I love to serve these over like rice or fried rice. Top it off with maybe some sesame seeds or some green onions, maybe even some cilantro, and then either roasted broccoli or that Asian slaw that I talked about would be delicious on the side. All right, so that does it for this full recipe. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you make it for dinner. Now, if you make this for dinner and you are like, that was 5 stars, I absolutely loved it, I would love to have you go on to the recipe and actually click down to the rating section, give it 5 stars, and let me know what you loved about this recipe. So until next time, I hope this episode of Let's Make Dinner makes your dinner time a little easier. See ya! All right, so now it's time for your double dip. Thank you so much for sticking around. Next week, we're doing something a little bit different here on the podcast. I'm actually going to go over one of the larger posts that I have on my site that is excellent for summertime. It's a whole entire post talking about feeding a large group on vacation. So if you have a bunch of families that get together and go on vacation, or if you have like a large family reunion, or any time that you have a large group of people that you're trying to feed over multiple days, I have an entire post that goes over how to do that easily, and even like 30 plus menus that you can use to feed a large group on vacation. So I hope you'll listen to that next week and maybe even go check out the post, especially if you have a vacation coming up. But then the next week, we're going to go over how to make a buttermilk cornbread and honey butter, which is perfect side dish for any summer barbecue. So until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful and beautiful summer week ahead of you. We'll see you then.